He says you gotta get in here fast because it goes.
Good evening. Today is Thursday, June 22nd, 2023, and the time is 6:30 p.m. I will now call the regular meeting of the ISD 191 Board of Education to order. Welcome to those of you in the audience this evening and for anyone who may be watching from home. Director Alt, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by,
Me.
Director Chester, seconded by Director Miller. Off to a rough start. Is there any discussion? I would like to make a motion to move the MSHSL approval from the consent agenda to new business.
Second.
Seconded by Director Alt. Any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment to the agenda?
That's correct.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now that the amendment has been approved, now we will vote to approve the agenda as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The motion carries unanimously. So we will have the MSHSL approval and new business. All right. But first up this evening, we will receive a report about lead and water from Dave Lake, Director of Operations and Transportation. Welcome, Dave.
Good evening, Board Chair Hume, school board members, and Dr. Battle. I'd like to present a lead and water, or lead and drinking water testing report that we conducted in the spring of 2023 and then just finished up here a couple of weeks ago with our second round of testing. So lead and water, the United States EPA has federal regulations regarding lead in drinking water. Along with that, the Minnesota Department of Health and Minnesota Department of Education passed state statutes that mandate methods, testing, and communication of lead concentrations in drinking water. Lead is a toxic metal. It's harmful to human health when it is ingested or inhaled, and lead exposure is a serious health concern, especially for young children and infants. Lead in drinking water requirements. Under Minnesota State Statute, under state statute, students in the pre-K through 12th grade range are required to, I've got the, how do I back up here? I got it on the wrong.
The back arrow?
There we go. Somebody did it for me. Thank you. That's what threw me off. So pre-K through grade 12, we're required to efficiently test for lead for students in that grade range. We need to create a schedule for testing that includes all school district buildings that serve students. Each tap must be tested every 5 years, and once we do it, we need to test all of those taps thereafter. Along with that, we need to make the results of testing available to the public for review and then notify families of the availability of the information. So we worked with Field Environmental Consulting to collect their first straw samples. What that consists of, it's water emitted from a fixture after it's been sitting for at least a period of 8 hours. Water is collected immediately in the morning. We do that before staff and students arrive so that we're not degrading the integrity of the testing. First draw samples are put into a clean 250 milliliter sampling bottle, filled to the top, capped, recorded, and then transported to a certified drinking water laboratory. We used Minnesota Valley Testing Laboratories out of New Ulm, Minnesota. And then as you look through the reports, I've got 2 links later in the slide presentation, but you'll see the EPA method 200.8 throughout. You'll see that designation. So where did we land? We tested 747 samples in the district through 14 sites. So we did all 8 elementaries, our 4 secondary sites, Diamond Head Education Center, and then the 14th building was our district warehouse. We have a sink, and then we have a drinking fountain there, so that was tested as well. So MDE and MDH, they'll use designations such as required, recommended, strongly recommended. Here they strongly recommend that if we have lead concentrations beyond the 20 parts per billion or 20 micrograms per liter, then we should take further action. So we had 14 samples that were high, 1 at Harriet Bishop, 1 at Sky Oaks, 2 at Vista View, 2 at Eagle Ridge, 6 at Nicollet, and 2 at Burnsville High School that were above the recommended level. You'll see a link below. We are going to add both of these after this report in the near future to our website, so our families can take a look and review this. So when you have these samples that are above that 20 parts per billion, and we also had, you'll see the number changed to 16. We had one that was at 19.8 and we had one at 19.9. So we decided to have those retested because we were so close to the threshold. So of the 16, you have the following options. Remove the tap or fixture from service, replace the tap or fixture and retest. And by tap or fixture, we're talking about the faucet, or if it's a drinking fountain. To be clear, we had no drinking fountains test high. So they were all sinks, all 16 of them. Retest, flush water at the tap and the test. And then clean, replace aerators to reduce lead levels and that concentration at the tap, and then go ahead and retest again, or add a point of use treatment device. So we primarily did options 3 and 4. We cleaned and replaced the faucet aerators, and then we flushed the water at the tap, and then had all 16 of those samples retested by Field Environmental. Of the 16 that were tested, all aerators were cleaned and replaced. So then where we found after our second test, we had 5 that still remained high. Of those 5, 4 were classroom sinks. Like I said, no drinking fountains. And then the 5th one was in a kitchen at Harriet Bishop. Of the 4 classrooms, 2 already had the label on it that said do not drink. So our action steps were, we just updated the 2 with new signage. We added signage to the other 2, and then the 5th one at Harriet Bishop in the kitchen, we replaced the fixture of the faucet and retested, and then we're at a below that 20 parts per billion threshold. We always want, we're looking for 0. We want 0 samples that come back above the 20, but just as a update from 5 years ago, we had over 70 that were high. This time we had 14 that were at that 20 or above. So we're moving in the right direction, and I'm hopeful that we get it at 0 or pretty close to it here in the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board members, are there any questions or comments? Director
Just had a
Cotton?
question. That last part, you kind of trailed off a little bit. Did you say in the next 5 years you hope to have it like down to?
Yeah, so
closer to
we do testing every 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we did our last one was in 2018, this one 23, and then 28 will be the next test.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Director Maurer?
Things are really loud tonight. Thank you for the presentation. First of all, the comment about them not being drinking, I think was very important. I maybe would go back and add that to this report before we leave it up for permanent record. That's pretty substantial to understand that, because some of originally reading this was a little alarming. So we believe that the source of lead is in the fixtures itself. How do we know it's not coming through the pipes or even outside the building? Or
No, that's a great question. So the vast majority of the time, and I can say this for our community because the water, whether it's Savage, Eagan, or Burnsville, it's treated, and so it's at a lower threshold as it's coming into the building, but the vast majority of the time you'll find it at the fixture. And the reason why is a fixture or a faucet, in our case, you've got a variety of metals, you've got brass, you have copper, and then as those degrade and as the minerals interact with them, then you'll start to get that lead concentrate. And what we found in the majority of ours, it was simply the aerator, and the aerator is that small filter that's attached to the end of your faucet.
Okay. And we believe that a sign saying don't drink this water is sufficient with kids around and such. I mean, it's good that it's, to begin with, it's a faucet, so
Right.
hopefully they're not running over there filling up their water bottles anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where we're relying on our staff as well, you know, and our teachers and staff in the classrooms that, you know, along with all the other things that happen in the classroom, that they're monitoring that as well.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
I just had one clarifying question.
Yeah.
So I think I heard you say, so is it all faucets and fountains were tested? Or is it a rotating schedule where this number is tested one year, this number is tested the next year?
So what it is it's all faucets where there's a possibility of a student drinking from it. So a faucet in our boiler room, you know, there's no students in a boiler room or in a mechanical room or where we have a slop sink. So they're not testing those, but they're testing every sink in a classroom because there is a chance that a young person could drink from it.
And all the ones that are getting tested are on the same schedule. It's not like we do a fifth every year.
No, it's the exact same
That's
schedule.
what
Yeah,
okay.
and that's where we found that overlap with two, where when my health and safety supervisor, Sean Henderson, and I, we went and looked at all 16 of these sources of high readings, and yeah, you'll find that two of them already had that signage. They had the signage because they had been tested previously. So,
Great. Well, thank you very much. I don't have any other questions.
thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, we'll receive a report about the SMART goals for the ISD 191 Board of Education for 23-24. I am presenting this report, so give me 1 second while I pull it up. So the board has had, I believe, 2 retreats over the last month or so in creating our goals for the coming year. So I'll just highlight what we landed on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we have 4 goals, I believe we landed on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Yes. So the first goal is cultural proficiency, building on the work from recent years. All ISD 191 board members will understand and be able to articulate the district's work in being a culturally proficient school system. Goal number 2 is supporting and leveraging new methods and original thinking to improve student outcomes. All ISD 191 board members will better understand how the district is working to ensure that all students are meeting goals and expectations around student achievement, including but not limited to our Pathways K-12 program, and use this improved understanding to inform setting district priorities. Goal 3, creating space and opportunity for each and every voice to be heard. As a district, it is the responsibility of the ISD 191 Board of Education to be transparent with our community and to receive community input to inform decision-making. And the 4th and final goal is to provide appropriate governance and guidance to Dr. Battle and her team. So all ISD 191 board members will understand and live up to the governance role of the Board of Education in supervising and providing support and guidance to the superintendent. And then underneath each of those goals, we have some expected outcomes and measures of progress that we've outlined. And we will vote to approve these hopefully later this meeting. So that concludes my report. Unless there are comments or questions. Director Alt.
Just a thanks to fellow board members. We had really great conversations around what we wanted to keep, what we wanted to update, and I really felt like it was a collaborative process, so thanks, everybody.
I agree. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Next, we'll receive a report about the superintendent's goals from Superintendent Dr. Teresa Battle.
Thank you, Chair Hume, members of the board. Tonight, I present, after a discussion with the board, my superintendent goals for the 2023-24 school year. I have one professional development goal and two district-focused goals. The first goal is in alignment with your cultural proficiency goal. So my professional development goal is to improve competency and moving toward adaptation and cultural competency as described by the Intercultural Development Continuum, and it is to link knowledge of my culture and other cultures to increase the skill of shifting perspectives and to link my cognitive ability to generate cultural appropriateness in my affect and behavior. The next two goals are district-focused goals. The first one, monitor schools' progress toward achieving their site student achievement goals for the 191 roadmap dashboard metrics. And the second one is to increase knowledge of best practices to achieve effectiveness of district operations, food and nutrition, buildings and grounds, financial and business services, and technology by requiring the use of a project management tool. Present those later for approval.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from board members for Dr. Battle? Seeing none, we will move on. Do board members have reports about board committees, appointments, or school assignments? We'll start with policy review.
Thank you, Chair Hume. Yes, the policy committee continues to be busy. We met earlier this week, and there will be, of course, policies coming forward in August. We're taking a hiatus in July. And as a result of this legislative session, Dr. Battle and I will be meeting in July to kind of filter through some of the policies that perhaps need to be fast-tracked and approved on emergency, if there are any that need to be approved on an emergency basis, which would mean they'd come forward to be approved in August. We would have 1 year then to put them through the regular two meeting approval process. And then also look at the other policies that need to come forward prior to the school year starting, or certainly within the start of the school year by September. So we are certainly going to be busy and appreciating all the help and support of fellow committee members.
Thank you. So what I think I hear you saying is we should expect lots of policy potentially coming forward in August.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Next, anything from negotiations?
Nothing to report at this time from the negotiations committee.
All right, and legislative?
Nothing to report right now.
All right. Are there any other board reports for this evening? All right, we will keep moving. Now we'll move on to the business portion of the board meeting, starting with the consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. In the event a board member wishes to discuss an item, that item will be moved for separate consideration. Do board members wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? All right, in that case, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Miller,
Second.
seconded by Director Chester.
No, Marcel.
Oh, sorry, I've heard it that way. Seconded by Director Bersall. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And then our first new business item will actually be the item that we pulled from the consent agenda at the beginning of the meeting, our approval for the Minnesota State High School League membership. I believe there is a video, but we should probably do the motion first, or do the video first?
By the motion.
We'll do the motion. All right, is there a motion to approve the Minnesota State High School League membership?
So moved?
Moved by Director Alt, seconded by Director Miller. Now, before we have discussion, now we'll play the video.
Sounds fair.
I'm going to be a junior this upcoming year, and I play basketball.
Wait, am I supposed to look at the camera?
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, where am I going with this? Take two. I play basketball and volleyball.
This is so weird. I play baseball and hockey. Basketball and baseball.
I play basketball and soccer.
I play football and I run track.
Mainly, I play high school sports to stay in shape.
I play because I have a lot of fun.
I just really have passion for it.
I play high school sports because it really gave me a pathway into friendships.
I think sports builds character. By playing sports, I think it's going to make me a better person.
It also teaches you life lessons such as like work ethic, integrity, and character.
I've learned that you need to work hard to be able to get places in life. My teams don't usually win that often, so we learn how to work together. We learn how to like have fun. Being a part of a team, I think it's important.
My biggest fan is my mom.
Definitely my mom. I always know that she's out there looking out for me, supporting me.
It's my parents and my grandpa. He says, I love watching you play. You really lead your team out there after every game. Like even if I didn't play, I'm just helping us lead on the bench. Always after every game, they just say, we love watching you play. It's super fun.
Well, first off, just like to say that to all the parents, thank you for putting in the time, but
Because no one wants their parents yelling at a referee or a coach or even a player.
I'm actually a ref myself for basketball. Getting yelled at is never fun.
I have definitely been a part of teams where the parents are a little crazy.
They look like stupid, I guess. I don't know how to word that.
I was at a tournament and a mom was yelling at her daughter. She was on the other team. She actually made her daughter cry. My whole team felt just bad.
People definitely try and motivate their kids in different ways. The screaming and yelling doesn't really help me personally.
I think parents sometimes they just get caught up in trying to see their kids be the best that they could possibly be. That could come off kind of wrong because they're so emotionally invested into the sport.
I don't think parents should coach because there are coaches already coaching your kids.
It's not their role. The referees are the ones with the whistle.
You know, just give them good, positive things to listen to while they're playing their hearts out on a field.
I want to see from parents cheering on and picking each other and other kids up, not just your own kid. You want to pick up the whole team.
Parents need to be respectful of everyone.
I think sportsmanship for parents is honestly just as important as it is for the teammates.
I don't think any real success comes without failure.
Everyone makes mistakes. Like, you would not be a good athlete if you did not make mistakes.
Just knowing that you put forth your best effort, that's what I think winning is.
Parents need to realize that they're getting better through doing that, and they shouldn't just always be so critical. Just cheer them on.
There's definitely pressure from your parents, from your teammates, from your coaches to do the best that you can.
I don't actually really like when my parents come to my games. I often tell them not to come to my games just because I like to be there to have fun and I don't want pressure or anything. If you take the pressure away a little bit and just let them learn and have fun with it, you will see so much more improvement. I think a lot of athletes just want to vent after the game if it's not going their way or if it did go their way. And personally, I like when my parents just listen.
If I mess up, I know I mess up, so you telling me that is not necessarily is gonna help.
If I had a bad game, I don't want to hear about the negatives because I guarantee I already have been thinking about it the rest of the game.
After a loss, a big loss, you know, you're already down and you just need the support to get back up because that's what they're there for. There has been situations where, they've been upset after the game that I didn't play and then they said, do you want me to go talk to the coach? I said, no, I can fix it. I'll just show them that I'm better in practice.
I feel like it should be the player's job to talk to the coach. It builds character. It's good for you to learn how to communicate how you're feeling with your coaches. My coach definitely says that there's no I in team. It's all about if we can work as a team, we can do great things.
No, I don't expect to be a professional athlete.
That's obviously a dream that I've had since a little kid. I don't know if that's gonna pan out.
No. It's less than 1%.
Personally, me, I don't really want to be a pro. I'm probably just gonna get my medical degree and just get out of it.
Thank you, Mom, for always being supportive, always sticking by me.
For always being there, being my biggest fan, always making sure that I'm taken care of, getting me to practice every single day.
You guys have always pushed me to be my greatest, and I want to thank you for that.
Thanks, Mom and Dad, for always listening to me and supporting me in all the different sports.
I love you guys so much.
Your support and unconditional love has made me into a better athlete and a better person day by day.
We're kids. We're just having fun. Yeah.
All right. Are there any comments or any discussion around the approval? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right. Next, the next new business item we are being asked to approve is the agreement for mental health services with Washburn Center for Children for the 23-24 school year for a total of $678,000 and authorizes the Executive Director of Administrative Services to execute the agreement. Amy Piotrowski, Director of Student Support Services, is presenting the recommendation.
Yes.
Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Hume, Dr. Battle, members of the board. I am here this evening to bring forth the agreement of the 23-24 school year for the co-located mental health services for the Washburn Children Center for Children, a total of $678,000. This agreement approves of 10.8 FTEs, therapists in our buildings, 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and all 8 elementary schools. This is a 0.8 increase from last year. We had 10 FTEs last year. This is a 0.8 increase. Mental health services continues to be a big concern, and I think that this is very valuable, and I am excited to bring this forward to you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Director Miller. Seconded by Director Connor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. Thank you for underscoring the fact that we're adding, even if it's just 0.8, and hearing that mental health continues to be a need among our students. Adding that 0.8 will make a difference, I'm sure in a very real way, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, now, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Amy.
Yep.
All right, the next item we are being asked to approve is the commitment of fund balance for fiscal year 23-24, right? To include fund balance resulting from carryover funds, facility rental funds, and pro-pay funds, presented by Tyler Dean, Director of Finance. Welcome, Tyler.
Good evening, Chair Hume, Superintendent Dr. Battle, and members of the board. Fund balance policy 714 allows the board to commit fund balances for a specific purpose prior to year end, while the amounts will be calculated during the audit. There are no changes to the 3 typical committed fund balances, so therefore the recommendation is that the Board of Education approves the commitment of fund balance for fiscal year 2023 to include fund balance resulting from carryover funds, facility rental funds, and pro-pay funds.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Director Mersal, seconded by Director Miller. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, next on the agenda is to approve the 23-24 adopted budget, providing all fund revenues of $203,916,555 and all funds expenditures of $203,315,861. Once again, Tyler Dean, Director of Finance, is presenting.
Thank you. Last meeting, I presented the FY24 proposed budget in detail. The numbers and assumptions have not changed since the last meeting, so I'll just go over some of the highlights. The revenue budget assumptions are K-12 enrollment projection estimated at 7,364 students, 4% increase to the general education formula. the $5 million increase for special education and English learner cross subsidy, the federal pandemic relief funds for current and new costs, and then the expense budget assumptions, 2.5% increase to the cells on the teacher salary schedule, 9% increase in health insurance premiums, the $3.5 million contingency to address unfunded mandates from the legislative session, and the $1.3 million in additional expenses related to requests for staffing and budget support. The general fund balance is projected to increase $2.8 million to $35.3 million, with an unassigned fund balance percentage of 14.12%. The other funds are listed in the document, leading to total all funds proposed fund balance increase of approximately $600,000. With that, the recommendation is that the Board of Education approves the 2023-24 adopted budget, providing all funds revenue of $203,916,555 and all funds expenditures of $203,315,861.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Director Chester,
Second.
seconded by Director Miller. Any discussion? Director Alt.
Thank you, Chair Hume. Between the last meeting and this meeting, I was finally able to get through the full book, and was great. Thank you. All the details were, as you had said, appreciate it. And I guess I just wanted to point out, I know that by the time we reach this meeting, the second meeting of June, probably for people that maybe are just tuning in to what, to see, okay, what is the budget that the board is approving? It may seem kind of perfunctory. A lot of work has gone into pulling this budget together, going back to December. Thanks to Tyler and your team and others in the room and those who aren't. A lot of time, a lot of effort. We've sat through meetings. You all have pulled information together. So we've had workshops, we've had meetings discussing budget, discussing staff, and the federal funds, and asking questions and more questions, and getting the answers that we needed to be able to reach this point. So while this may be a very brief approval process tonight, we all have done our work. We've dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and thank you all for all your time and effort to bring us here.
Any other comments? All right. In that case, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we are being asked to approve the coverage for property, casualty, and liability insurance for the 23-24 school year with affiliated FM Insurance Company, Mount Holly Insurance Company, National Union Fire Insurance Company from Pittsburgh, Auto Owners Insurance Company, and Palomar Excess and Surplus Insurance Company. Stacy Sovine, Executive Director of Administrative Services, will be presenting the next three recommendations. Welcome, Stacy.
Good evening, Chair Hume, Dr. Battle, members of the board. We really attempted to make sure that every insurance company in the United States was covered, and we have a policy with them. No, actually, every year we have to provide liability insurance for a number of different areas within the district. And each of the different insurance companies have their specific focal point, what they specialize in. So the reason that you see a whole list of different companies, some will focus on liability for our automobiles, some will do the umbrella, some will take care of covering our storage tanks. You'll notice on the thing we had Holly is kind of to be determined, and then the other one with Admiral Insurance Company, they run through the first half of the year. Our tanks are getting to the point where some of them are nearly, well, majority of them are over 30 years old. So that's becoming, we have to do more testing on an annual basis to demonstrate that those tanks are solid, that they're not leaking, that they don't provide an environmental hazard. So the insurance companies are it's becoming a little bit more difficult with that. We did get an extension with Admiral. They're our current carrier for 6 months to allow us time to provide that testing to them, that we will build that into an annual schedule. We feel comfortable with our tanks. Yes, they're old, but they're also double walled. So the tanks that we had previous to that was, well, you rust out in one spot, you're right into the soil. Here, you have the first liner, then you have a second liner, and we've never had any reason to believe that we've gone between the two walls. So we're comfortable with that. Insurance companies, it's getting a little bit more difficult with that. Our agent of record is Cross Anderson. They are the ones who provide the brokerage to go out and find the different insurance companies to cover the different areas. The premiums listed above are approximately just a little over $38,000 higher than the current fiscal year. This is an increase of just over 8% year over year. I do recommend approval of the contracts for property, casualty, and liability insurance for the 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Director Marcel. Seconded by Director Connor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we're being asked to adopt the resolution approving the revised long-term facilities maintenance program budget for FY25.
So each year, again, about this time, very cyclical, each year we come to you looking for approval for our long-term facility maintenance plan. This is a 10-year, fairly comprehensive plan. I say fairly comprehensive. We put the items that are close to $100,000 or greater on the schedule, but we have anywhere between 30 to 40 other smaller projects that are thrown in each year that we do as well. We don't list all of the different minor ones that go along with that. We do need to get this approved prior to August, because we then submit this information to the state of Minnesota. They then start using this information to develop our tax levy that will be coming up in September for your initial and then final approval in December. But the amounts that we are looking at, that is what is taxed in the upcoming year and then is payable in the fiscal year 25. So it's about a 2-year lookout. One of the things I will point out, this is a 10-year map, and a lot of this would be like looking at the warranty. So our roof is expected to last for 30 years. Well, when they go up and they do the inspection, it's like, oh, well, it's still in pretty good shape. Well, we're not going to replace the roof at the 30-year mark if we think we still have 5 more years. So we'll move projects around to what the actual need is at the time. But we just want to give the state and our community an idea. This is the direction we're going on. Yep, these are the items we're aware of, and different things will allow us to kind of flex and move those around as needed. This upcoming year in the levy, just as a reminder, we went over about $4 million because we had a boiler at William Byrne that we felt urgently that we needed to replace, and that is currently under process. Also, with the replacement of that boiler, we are removing the storage tank at William Byrne because it is not needed going forward. So that will be one less tank we'll have to take care of. But typically, we try to stay around $2.5, $2.6 million as far as the total cost for our plan. So this will reflect a reduction of close to $2 million over our current long-term facility plan. So, with that, sorry.
All right. You're done.
I am done this time.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Didn't want to interrupt if you were just taking a breath. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Moved by Director Miller,
Second.
seconded by Director Chester. Any discussion? Director Hall?
Thank you, Chair Hume. Just a couple of questions, Stacy. The bituminous overlay at the high school, are there any plans to rework the curbs and separate the traffic from the front of the parking lot and the back? You know, the student traffic from what might be at the front?
If we wanted to use the long-term facility maintenance money to do that, we would need to wait until it's at a point of degradation to where we're saying that we're replacing it. When we're replacing it, then we can use those funds.
Got it.
Otherwise, we would have to come up with a different source to pay for that at this point in time.
So that wouldn't necessarily fall under any kind of safety consideration?
Possibly, but we're
Not
just
at this-
taking that from other areas at this point in time.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
And Eagle Ridge houses were last painted in 1819, is that right?
That's correct.
So looking back, and I think you answered I think I know the answer to this, I'm gonna ask it anyway. In terms of the cycle of painting, our schools, going back to, I went back through our LTFM to Vision 191 timeframe. Didn't see any of our schools getting painting. That must be because they fell below the threshold. Our schools are getting painted. We're just not seeing it in LTFM because of the cost.
Sometimes, and again, some of those touch-ups, the touch-ups are ongoing.
Yep.
So when I say we have like anywhere between 30 and 40 different projects that aren't kind of your high flyers.
Yep.
We may not go in and be painting the entire houses at Eagle Ridge.
Yep.
But there may be a number of classrooms in each of the buildings that are touched up as needed.
Got it. So in terms of a general project at the school, that might not be happening on a regular basis because we are just going in and looking at them and touching them up to make sure that everything looks nice.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that was it. Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? All right, I just want to say thank you for the context you added at the beginning, kind of why we're approving something in June of '23 for fiscal year '25. That's helpful for me to be reminded of that timeline, and I'm sure it's helpful for others in the community as well. So thank you for that. If there are no other questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. And the next item we're being asked to adopt is the resolution of ISD 917's long-term facilities maintenance program budget.
Same, pretty much, the explanation is pretty much the same for that. We're doing that at this point in time so that it will be reflected in our local levy information that we go forward. Intermediate District 917 is an intermediate district that serves some of our students with unique needs at this point in time. We are a member of that district, and as a member of that district, we help to cover some of the cost. 917 has members from across multiple independent school districts and therefore is unable to directly levy taxpayers for their needs, so they go back through their members. So our portion of their long-term facility needs comes back to our district, we approve it, and then that gets reflected on our levy. So it is my recommendation that we do approve it's my recommendation that we approve the recommendation to adopt the resolution of ISD 917 Long-Term Facility Maintenance Program budget for that reason.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Director Chester, seconded by Director Alt. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Stacy. Next, I'm asking the board to approve the SMART goals for the ISD 191 Board of Education for 23-24 that were presented as a report earlier this evening. Is there a motion to approve the board's goals?
So moved.
Moved by Director Marsal.
Second.
Seconded by Director Connor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Then the last item to approve is the superintendent's goals for 23-24, presented by Dr. Teresa Battle, Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair Hume and members of the board, earlier tonight I presented my goals for the 2023-24 school year. I now ask you to approve my goals as presented earlier this evening.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the superintendent goals?
So moved.
Moved by Director Chester, seconded by Director Alt. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Battle. This concludes the regular portion of our business meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Director Chester, seconded by Director Connor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 7:15.